Our command today is watch. We're used to watching. We watch lots of things. We watch television. We watch YouTube videos and other things on the internet. If you're at the airport or the park, you might people watch. We watch. We're used to watching. But I don't think we're necessarily used to watching in the way Jesus is asking us to watch. When we watch television, when we watch the internet, when we watch people, that's a passive watching. We're just kind of sitting there consuming things, letting things come in, letting things pass by, not really looking for anything in particular, just watching. I don't think Jesus is inviting us to a passive watching during this Advent season or at any time, really, but rather an active, a conscious watching. What am I doing as I'm watching? And he gives us this example of a master who leaves the house and goes on a journey, and he sets the watchman there at the front gate to watch. Now, of course, back in the day before electric lights, I don't think we appreciate how dark the world gets. I mean, just think about it, those times when there's been a storm and a blackout, and not only your house goes dark, but you look outside on the street and everything is black. Or if you happen to be driving during that time, just how dark things can get. So back in the day, the watchman's job was not simply to stand there and be a passive watcher. Well, why don't I just look and maybe something will pass by? Their job was to watch specifically for something that was out of place. Is there something not right? Is there something going on that I need to be aware of and raise the alarm? Is the enemy camp approaching? Are burglars going to try to break in? They had to watch with purpose, looking out specifically for something that didn't belong. Watch. And if they failed, well, there would be negative consequences. Normally, the person who watched was watching for something wicked, looking for something evil, looking for the enemy. But Jesus says, watch because you don't know when the master of the household is going to return. He's not asking us to watch for the enemy. He's asking us to watch for the master, the return of the master. And this really does set the stage for the Advent season, this time of preparation. It is a time that reminds us that our whole Christian life has to be about watching, that we are watching for Christ, and not just Christ in the manger. That already happened. You missed it. We are looking for Christ to come again. This is the watching that we are looking for. And so we know for whom we are looking. We know for what we are watching. We are not simply just staring out the window and maybe something will catch our eye. No, we are on the lookout. Have you ever had to pick someone up at the airport, a family member, or maybe for business or someone coming into town, or that you were preparing your house for a guest to arrive, and you had to time everything just right, so you had to kind of watch the oven and get things ready, and when are they coming, and you might be looking out that window and kind of looking for them, or watching the airplane thingy that they're emptying out of. You're looking at that, and you're watching, and you're looking for the headlights to turn down your neighborhood. You're looking for the person to come out whose face you recognize, or maybe whose eyes light up when they see the sign that you're holding with their name on it. You're looking for something specific. And I've certainly done that. When I've had someone over to my house and I need to have things kind of timed just right, I'm standing in the front window and I'm just kind of looking down there at 192nd. When are they going to turn onto Chandler? Well, maybe I missed. Let me go to my bathroom window. I can see it clearer out there. Nope, let me go back to the front window because maybe they came from the other direction. I mean, I've literally done that. I've literally hovered over the windows looking because I wanted everything to be timed just right. And I wanted the thing to go on so that it was ready when they walked through the door. That's the kind of watching that the Lord invites us into. A watching with anticipation, a watching with expectation, a watching that is conscious, not a passive watching. Because when you passively watch something, if you're just kind of passively watching TV, have you ever kind of had that moment where all of a sudden you realize you don't even know what you've been watching? Or we even have a term for this, binge watching, where you just kind of keep consuming and watching one thing after the next, and all of a sudden hours have flown by, and I have done nothing today because I've just been sitting here watching, doing nothing. You've ever read a book where you flipped 2 or 3 pages and you realize, I don't know what I just read. I have to go back because I was daydreaming and thinking about something else? This is an unconscious watching, a watching that slips us into complacency, a watching where we're no longer paying attention, we're gathering in, a watching that is fruitless. The Lord calls us to active watching, an active watching that focuses on Him. And this is perhaps the point I want to make today, that as we look for Him, and using His example today, I encourage you to not look for the enemy, because that's not the example Jesus gave us. It can be so easy, particularly among those spiritually inclined, or even just in the human nature, to focus on the enemy. That I have to look at what the devil is doing in my life. Look at the temptations he's whispering in my ear. Look at how he's at work around us. And I think that's a violation of the first commandment of God, that we are putting someone else in God's place. And we cannot do that with the evil one. Do not give him more power than he has. He has none. He is a liar. He is a charlatan. We look for Christ. Because whenever we start looking into the shadows and looking for evil or wickedness and focusing on what the devil is up to, or even in our human relationships, focusing on the negative comment, focusing on the imperfection, focusing on what someone did wrong, focusing on how something isn't right, focusing on this thing that should be changed. As soon as we zero in on that, we stop seeing the good. All we see then is the broken, the negative, the evil one. We've stopped looking for the master. So being conscious about our watching means also to be careful about what we are consciously watching. It's too easy to slip into those negative, evil things that just draw us in, and we fail to see the grace. I think the Holy Father, Pope Francis, spoke about this brilliantly one time when he talked about the media's fascination with the church and how it zeroes in on the one priest or minister who falls and fails due to scandal, and completely fails to see the 10,000 who are quietly doing what they should be doing. It's like in the forest, the one tree that falls and makes a loud crash, all of a sudden the attention goes on that, and we stop seeing the forest quietly growing. There is so much grace, and there is so much goodness, and there is so much blessing, and the Lord is pouring that upon us abundantly. We have to watch for that. And when we look for the blessings, and look for the graces, and look for the goodness, we will find Christ. If we look for the critical, or the negative, or the wicked, or the broken, or the evil, we will not find Christ. We come before Him today to watch consciously, with expectation, with anticipation, and with readiness to see Him and no one else but Him. And so as we enter into our Advent season, I encourage you to watch, not passively, but look at your life and see where you can begin focusing on the good, on the blessing, on the gracious, and find Christ already coming, so that when we do celebrate Christmas, we will have already seen the God for whom we are waiting.